Well, good morning, friends. Thanks for joining me for devotions today. Devotions are all about grounding our day in God's peace and perspective. It's a time when we intentionally seek God's will first, and we redirect and point our day towards God's will. And Jesus tells us throughout the scriptures that as we point ourselves towards God's will, we find peace and clarity. In John 14, Jesus says, "Peace I leave you, my peace I give to you. Not as the world gives, but do not let your hearts be troubled, neither let them be afraid." And isn't that something we seek, right? The peace that passes all understanding, a peace of God that we may not see every day in our lives. In 2 Timothy writes, "For God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power and love and self-control." I think most of our days are driven by fear sometimes, especially right now. It'd be nice to find some self-control, some love, and some power that actually makes a difference. And then in Philippians, Paul says to us, "Do not be anxious about anything." That's why you're here, because you're anxious. "Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God." And he says when we do that, the peace of God, which passes all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds just as Christ Jesus did. Peace, love, self-control, thanksgiving. Isn't that why you're watching this video? And maybe it wasn't why you started the video, but maybe right now you're realizing that you really do need some peace. Maybe a break from chaos in your life or fear that overwhelms. So I know you came to the computer and probably to social media to get those things, but today's devotion and challenge that I give to you is to turn all media off for the entire day. No Facebook, no CNN, no Slappy Chat or Fox News or YouTube, no other media outlet. Turn them all off. Not on TV, not on the newspaper, not on your computer or cell phone. You don't need these things every day. You really don't. The world will be just fine if you don't see the newest, funniest cat video. You will be fine if you don't know the chaos going on in the political world or the battle back and forth between various parties in the world. You don't need to see the protests. You don't need to see the fires. You don't. You really don't. You need to seek God's will and point yourself towards what God might be doing in the world. And oftentimes, the media is the source of our anxiety, frustration, and turmoil, even if we don't notice it. Give your day-to-day to God. And I want to encourage you to give it to God by fasting from those places that the evil one often uses to steal your joy, and refocus yourself on God's goodness and work in the world. Some encouragement from Paul in Romans 12 says this: "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will." You can do this. That's it. One day. Just the day. Only today. Take a break. Thanks for joining me. But now sign off, turn off your computer, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. Keep looking up, everybody.